Hello, I'm Catherine, and this is Rose Floral School, the show. Here we talk about different systems that you can use in your wedding floral design business to make your life less stressful and more enjoyable. So, today we're talking about the process of basically going from the client's inspiration images to one clear design vision and concept that you can present to them. So let's start right at the beginning. When I first have a couple signing up to do a consultation, I always ask for some inspiration photos. I like to know where they're at, what they like, what their style is. Even if they are still honing in on that, it's helpful for me to see what they're looking at right now. And when I do this, I try to make it as simple for the couple as I can. So I ask them specifically, what I'm looking for and how to send it to me. Some couples are very like, oh yeah, here you go, boom, 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 here's the stuff. Here's my Pinterest link, here's a photo, whatever. Some couples will have a document, whether it's like a Word doc or even a PowerPoint with their inspiration with some notes. Some couples have nothing and they're like, oh, let me try to figure that out and send you something. That's probably the least common, but they are all across the board. So I try to make it easy and straightforward right from the get-go. So I will ask for inspiration photos, but I don't just say that because for some couples that would be kind of like, what does that even mean? So I will say specifically flowers you love, photos of your dresses if you care to do that, or just anything that is inspiring the vision for your wedding or feels like how you want your wedding to feel. I allow my couples to send me a Pinterest link, a screenshot, whatever is easiest for them. I don't really care because I take the images and make my own document out of them regardless. And what I'm trying to do is make it as easy and have the least barriers for the client to get me the photos to, set up that consultation so that we can go ahead and book their wedding. So that's sort of what I start with. And then from there, of course, I end up with whatever they have sent. Most often, I will say it probably is a Pinterest board or just a collection of screenshots. So what I will do, I'll go ahead and look at all those photos. And I like to, kind of scroll through them once really quickly to get just that general, like, okay, get my bearings sort of about me. And then I like to look a little closer. And that's where I can look and see, like, if there are certain textures repeating. Of course, color stories tend to jump out right away. Like, okay, yes, she wants cream, blush, and burgundy. You'll see it right away. Of course, too, things like just the general style. So the texture of the flowers. Is it light and fluffy and airy, or is it a little bit more dense? Is there more greenery and like a wild foresty texture versus something more refined, like a garden style? Typically, you can pick that out too, just to sort of get you that like overall general theme throughout. I will say there tend to also be outliers. So I like to always look at the general things, but that makes sense together. But then I like to look specifically at anything that just doesn't seem to fit in. So if there's one photo that just stands out a little bit more, I will look a little closer at that photo and try to determine, like, okay, she put this photo in because it has anemone and there were anemone throughout her other pieces. I think maybe she just is drawn to that flower. You can see there's one common thread that connects it. I'll assume that's what she liked about that photo. Or, okay, here's a photo and the bouquets are nothing like anything else, but it's a bunch of bridesmaids holding bouquets. Yep, I think this is maybe the bridesmaid gown color inspiration or what have you. And all brides are different. Some will have a floral specific Pinterest board that they send me, and some have a Pinterest board that is 500 images deep that they started when they were in high school, and it's every image they've ever liked. When you get something like that, you will notice a very clear almost break in the style where it goes into something that looks like it's from 2018. Stop scrolling there. You don't need to go any further. Sometimes I will just for nostalgia, but for the most part, if you get a really large Pinterest board, you can tell where the more recent pins are and where it is something that they just did forever ago. And don't obviously take that into account. I mean, you can maybe pull some personal style threads from it, but I wouldn't worry too much if you get a giant Pinterest board. But back to those outliers, like I said, you can sometimes see the clear connection. Sometimes it is a little bit more fuzzy. I've had a handful of brides who maybe they will send a Pinterest board and everything is white, greenery, cream, neutral. And then here and there, maybe there's not just one photo, but there's a handful that have a light pink added in or something like that. When I get something like that, I'll make a note of it. Usually I will literally make a note of it in my consultation notes so that later when we're having that consultation, I can bring it up and I can say, hey, for the most part, you were all in the neutrals, but you did have this little bit of blush peeking in here and there. Did you want to incorporate some blush? Did you want blush in certain pieces? Or did you just kind of want to stick with the neutrals? And then they'll be able to tell you and fill in that little like question mark that you have. But it's good to notice those things so that you can bring them up and address them and see what the bride and what the couple does like and do want for their flowers. I will say one other thing that I do sort of like pay attention to is when I have my brides send the inquiry form back to me, they'll fill out a little segment at the bottom where they kind of explain their vision, their love story. They can it's like an open-ended little field that they fill in. And so if the bride says something in that, she types in something, or the groom, but I'm going to be honest with you, I say bride all the time because 99% of my correspondence happen to be with a bride. But in any case, when they fill out that field, if they say something that does not match up with the Pinterest board, I'll make a note of that too. And same thing, I'll kind of bring that up. I just had this happen like last week. I think it literally was, where I was looking at her Pinterest board. It was all light, fluffy, airy, flowery forward. But in her inquiry, she had said, we like a lot of greenery. But her Pinterest board did not say a lot of greenery. So I was able to bring it up. We discussed and we were doing a lot more greenery in her centerpieces, a little bit in her ceremony pieces, and then her bouquets will be just flowers. So if you notice those like little discrepancies, make note so that you can discuss and get kind of to the bottom of things with that. But as far as preparing for the consultation, preparing my concept, I will usually sort of feel it out. If you feel like 50-50 have blush and, you can kind of go one way or the other. I also take into account their venue, their time of year. If they've told me their bridesmaid gown color, I'll sort of take that into account and suggest what I would suggest. So like, oh, I see you're split on whether to add blush or not, but a lot of your photos had really, really low contrast and you're doing a champagne bridesmaid gown. I kind of think we could keep a very subtle blush in there that's basically like a cream, because your style is so muted and soft and subtle. Bringing that blush in might just bring it into a different zone, more romantic and playful versus soft and sophisticated and subtle. So I'll kind of, take a choice one way or the other if I have sort of a split Pinterest board. But then in the conversation, bring it up and ask, and show them the images. Did you want it like this, or did you want more of that element in there, like this picture from your Pinterest board? So you do eventually kind of have to just take a guess at it. I'm just checking over my notes to make sure we are hitting all of the points. Yeah, I think so. That's kind of the general gist of it, but when I look at their board, I look at the outliers, I take those things into consideration, consider the general style and what makes the most sense with that, and then I'll put together a concept. So pulling the common color themes and style themes right there onto my Pinterest board, or onto not my Pinterest board, from the Pinterest board onto my visual concept sheet that I make for the couple. A lot of times before I fully create my visual, I'll start with, I put their name, their date, their venue on there so that I have that all at the front of my mind. And then I will, from their Pinterest board, kind of make a really brief description too. So list the colors, the color family, the color scheme, and then list just some style words too. Is it timeless? Is it romantic? Is it natural and rustic? Whatever it is that I get from the board itself overall, I'll sort of give the wedding style description or a name or whatever you would want to call it, and write that on there too, so that I have that in the front. And then I go ahead and go to my flower catalog. So I have a catalog that I created myself, with all the types of flowers. I mean, not all of them, but it's a growing list right now with everything I've ever used. But I'll add more to it if I realize like, hey, I haven't used this specific orchid and I think it would be great for this bride. I'll add it to my catalog. But off the get-go, I will take those style words, those color schemes, look at my catalog and pull the flowers that make the most sense with the style, the color, and of course the date too. That's important. So I'll pull those blooms and make a bloom inspiration. And then from there, I will draw the sketch and put together the starting concept. So it kind of goes from just looking at the Pinterest board overall, pulling color schemes, style descriptors, looking at those little outliers and the common threads and sort of weaving it all together. And then keeping that at the front of my mind when I pull the blooms from my bloom inspiration, and then putting it all together as my starting concept, which for me, what I do is I'll sketch the bouquet right there for the bride to see, because sometimes you can look at the flowers, the little pictures at the bottom all lined up, but you can't picture them together. You can't picture the different proportions or the different shapes and dimensions. So that's why I like to present a sketch where you do see all of it right there together. I will say something that happens fairly often for me is that when the bride sees this custom-made concept sketch from all of her different images collected together, I've had many couples be like, oh my gosh, yes, this is exactly what I want. It's like not all of that, but it's not just this, it's not just that, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You pulled all these different ideas, and like here you're seeing it in front of you all together for the first time in a customized way. And I think that is really strong. It's strong for the couple to see. It's strong as just like a way to almost confirm that like communication and that trust. And when a bride can see that I've taken all of her images and turned it into one thing that is like exactly what she was picturing, that goes a long way towards your bookings and towards that client trust and being able to serve that client. I will say there are, of course, times too where the bride is like, oh, I really don't like this thing that you put in there, or like, yeah, I had a lot of greenery in my Pinterest board. I realized that, but I don't think I like that much. Can we skip the greenery? And so then, yes, of course we can do that. We'll make that adjustment. I'll take the notes. That's what the consultation is for. And that too is what the images are for as well. I mean, if I have those there, but they can look at it and say, no, I don't really like this. I don't really like that. Perfect. Now we can remove them and we can adjust the visual, adjust the order, and take notes of all of that. So like I said, it's great when the bride is like, wow, this is exactly what was in my head. But it's also great when the bride is like, oh, I think I didn't want as much of this. I liked that. And that happens sometimes. You don't hit the nail on the head every single time. We're not mind readers. But over time, you will see that you get better at looking at a Pinterest board, pulling the themes, pulling the styles, looking at those outliers and saying, oh yeah, okay, she did want a little bit of some like sculptural element, or oh yeah, they did want a little bit of yellow popped in there, or whatever it is. And I think as you do it, you just get better and better. I think I'm just going to check over, make sure that we hit all of the bases, but I would say that is overall the process of going from getting those photos, kind of like translating them or deciphering them, and then turning it into your own concept that you can present to the bride. I think for me, it's really important, again, as a way to communicate with the couple, having those visuals so they can really see it. And, you know, you can start to hone in on like, is this the vision? Are there tweaks? What can we add? What can we remove? I will say one other thing that I try to do especially if I either see some outliers in their Pinterest board or I just see like a little bit of a pull towards a different style, I will add my own take on things into there too. So if I see that a bride, say she seems like she's interested in a little bit more of like a sculptural, modern, sleek style, but she might have never heard of, I don't know what flower, for example, like an anthurium. I feel like anthuriums have been kind of done and overdone a little bit lately, possibly. But for the sake of this example, say she has a really slick, sophisticated sculptural style, but nowhere in there is a single anthurium. And I feel like it could be a fit for her, and maybe she's just never heard of it or seen it. So something like that, then I might add into her concept and I might mention it to her. Hey, here's what we did. It's sculptural. It's that style that you really liked, blah, blah, blah. I did add in this flower. It's really cool. It's called an anthurium. Just for that like really sharp, high contrast, modern kind of a shape and texture and whatnot. So I will try to add a little something that maybe they don't have at all. Or if there's something you've been dying to work with, something that's like, maybe it's really popular in the floral world, but all of the like other people haven't heard of it yet. For a while, like this was years ago, there were like these brown dyed tulips that everyone in the floral world was talking about and nobody else in the world was talking about. And I had pitched that to a few brides and they were like, what is this? What are you talking about? And I'm like, it's a thing. Look at this. Do you like it? So if there's something that you are wanting to do and you feel like no one ever asks you to do, guess what? If it's a fit for a bride for her general concept that she's, wanting to have her wedding vision be, pitch it to her, show it to her and share it to her. And you're never going to book something that the people don't know about. So if there's something that you want to do that fits in, don't be afraid to add that into your concept a little bit too and present that as well. I think that's how we get to try some of the best newer things. And yeah, so I think that pretty much sums it up. Please let me know anything that you found helpful, anything that you found surprising, or if you have certain things that you like to do, I would love to hear about that as well. Also, if you have any stories where you got a Pinterest board that was really disjointed, let me know about that. That does happen sometimes, but I really think if you kind of get a bird's eye view on it, you can get those overall themes, pull some common threads, and then, chat it all out. Hey, what are you thinking with this image? Was there something you liked here? Don't necessarily go through every image, but go forth and take all of those inspirations, turn them into really great visions, and book those weddings. All right. This was Rose Floral School, the show. If you want more information, please find us on Instagram or on TikTok. And we will talk to you again next week. Have a great day.